الحمد لله رب العالمين وبسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله ونشهد أن محمد رسول الله. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For blog talk, folks, since I don't own the music and I haven't set it up to be able to clear it. Alhamdulillah, we just want to get your blood stirring. That works for me. Actually, I was actually looking for the original 45 uh, radio version of Goodfoot, so I just had it just labeled in my studio as "Get on the Goodfoot." So it turns out it was the live version uh, of JB. So with that reminiscence and with that memory of you know how he moves, you just automatically know how he moves, and because you know how he moves, I know youngsters, y'all may not have that memory, but inshallah, go on YouTube and get a feel for it. Then you can get an understanding where Michael Jackson and what's that other boy, the Super Bowl show guy, man, y'all know him. He styled his hair like with the James Brown pompadour. His name keeps flashing through my mind, but I can't grab it. The dance moves. That's where they got it from. So in case, and there was somebody I just saw recently. They said James Brown got a lot of his stuff from this other guy, right? So much history. Everybody got something from somebody. Hopefully it's the best. They took the best thereof. All right. All of that is to say, why the good foot? Why you play the good foot? Okay, because we're talking about debt. I'm still open for comments for you. You know the drill. I'm just doing my opening comments. So if you have comments, go ahead, push one on your phone and I'll get to you. Inshallah. You get on the good foot. He said, whatever. Got my money, and then the rent is due, and all my money's spent, and that's on the bad foot, right? And so he's talking get on the good foot. That was the whole thing. The whole thing was putting yourself in a better financial, a better economic situation, and having a better economic mindset, right? Open up the door, I'll get it myself. When you get to that song, it said we got talents on our side of town. Let's get ourselves together and build it up from the ground. That's all that Honorable Elijah Muhammad, may Allah forgive me shortcomings and grant him entry into the paradise, that Elijah Muhammad teaching that was influencing James Brown and so many others. In fact, to speak about, I was talking about the music and who took what from whoever. There's a historic story and a reality of the first music beef was between, the way they label it, the music beef was between James Brown and Joe Tex. They had a serious conflict with each other. And gunplay was involved, right? But then Joe Tex himself, he also wound up becoming a follower of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Right? So the influence of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad on music, musicians, artists, etc., was phenomenal. But the point is that the good foot for us is getting on a good footing economically speaking. That's what we're talking about. All right, so mashallah, we're going to move on. Yes, I do have several things. I have several short clip videos that I want to play for you to really underscore that line about debt and about the very system, the matrix that we are in. I talked about the matrimony, the matrix of money, but there is a matrix, economically speaking, that we are indeed in. It's a fact. It is a fact. And so what I want to share as we proceed with the morning, show you the science, the fact, give you the receipts for what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to do it without hearing from you. Push one on your phone. Come on through. Let's make a comment. I actually got a little coffee and a little donut on the side. Don't y'all tell nobody. I'm having that. But put out there also the Muslim movement. Today we're going to be walking and exercising. Yeah, you're eating donuts and you're drinking coffee, right? Okay, hey, I'm taking a step at a time. Literally. All right, going once. If you got comments, now's the time. Push one on your phone. Come on through. If I hear none or see none, then we're going to move on down the road. All right. Alhamdulillah. So let me remind you all again. Once I leave the studio, basically I'm not coming back until broadcast is done. I'm just saying. All right. Assalamu alaikum, Joel. Assalamu alaikum. Brother ma'am. Oh, you tricked me. You tricked me. Wa alaikum assalam. What's up, Raisa?
Yes. Assalamualaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
Very good to talk to you. I did have a question when you mentioned during the khutbah that our prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, made the statement and asked people that, you should not be in debt by the time you're deceased.
Right.
So having said that, I reflect on my own self, and I'm not really certain if that's a possibility considering student loans considering I might not ever really pay that off. I am working on strategies, but so inshallah, maybe that's why I am working on strategies.
Yeah.
But that debt alone is really the monster for me.
Yeah.
Not mortgage.
Yeah. And so, it literally is.
Be in a bad state. I need some clarification on that.
Okay, good. Literally speaking of, there were so many directions that I was thinking about this morning in terms of what I would share. And the student loan issue was one that I was originally considering. Okay, well, just show how they enslave us. They move us into the system, education, and actually I know the earlier practice that maybe they toned that down a little bit, but the earlier practices were just literally sending credit cards to college students, right? Just send it to them, and that's like literally giving candy to a kid. I mean, just literally, but then it's indebting you, it's locking you into that. Okay, so first thing, let's go with the same hadith. That's just because I'm only interested in you. Whatever's clicking it needs to stop. I don't know what that is. But in terms of the, maybe I need to mute. I'm gonna mute you for now because I'm getting a click right now. Then I'll come back and shout.
Oh, okay.
All right. Hold on. So in terms of that, the prophet, peace be upon him. Let me open up the actual notes from the khutbah. Let's see. Because I believe the hadith covers that very hadith covers that as well. Let's see. Responsible investing. Okay. How did I get there? Oh, 13. I'm here. I just had to go onto my computer to get the. Okay, here's the hadith of the prophet that we read. He said, "Whoever takes money of the people with the intention of repaying it, Allah will repay it on his behalf. And whoever takes money in order to destroy it, then Allah will destroy him." So when it comes to student loans, those who got the student loans for the purpose and the reason of the student loans. So therefore, their intention was not to destroy it or abuse it, etc. Their intention was to repay it. I took this loan in honesty, and I intend to pay it back. So, if even if you can't pay it back, Allah says He will repay it on His behalf, right? So it's like, okay, and we don't listen. We once Allah said He will repay it on His behalf, then the idea is, okay, my intentions were good. I didn't have the intention to spoil it, destroy it, abuse it, etc. Allah said, I got you. So that means whether it's taken care of in this world or whether it's forgiven in the life that comes hereafter, it's taken off of your books in the judgment. So I would say it's nothing to worry about in the case of someone who is sincere in that point, because matters are judged by intention, right? So hey, I'm taking this loan and I intend to pay it back, right? And so that's definitely one thing that we don't need to concern ourselves with. Allahu alam, you have to deal with your own heart, and but in my opinion of that situation, for those who are sincere when they took the loan, I say that they don't have anything to worry about because Allah has promised them, I'll take care of it, right? So Allah may provide a means or the wherewithal for it being taken care of as well. Who knows? A rule or a law may still come through where they might suspend all those student loans as we're expecting. We don't know. Allah said He will bless you from avenues that you haven't even considered. So once you got a promissory note from God, like the one I just read, it's like, okay, go on about your business. It's like, mashallah, right? And okay, on the other side of that, or rather, in addition to that, the fiqh of al-Islam, that is the religious understanding, is that necessity removes obligation. Necessity removes obligation, meaning if you if there's something that blocks you from being able to do what is otherwise a demand on you, that is out of necessity, you're unable to do this or you're unable to do that, well then the Islamic understanding is that then you're relieved of that obligation, because there's no way for you to handle it. If there's no way for you to handle it, Allah places on no soul a burden beyond its scope. Listen, that's Quran, right? Allah places on no soul a burden beyond its scope. That don't mean that the world won't place on you a burden that's beyond your scope, but Allah will not place a burden on us that's beyond our scope. So Allah knows better than we do what is outside of our scope, what is an unjust burden, and etc. Because as we're going to point out, this is just from a consumer side, which we're going to speak more about in a minute. And students are consumers too, but I'm talking about hardcore in the mall consumerism. That's what we're going to speak a lot about. So I'm saying that the way that the system is rigged, that system, that student loan system, and the business of education, and the corporate and profit oriented leaders of those institutions whose only interest is to exploit the life until they're dead. That means it's like, we're going to lock you into an indebted situation that you're not going to be able to take care of, whether you become doctor, lawyer, engine chief, until you die, right? That's evil. That is evil. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah knows, right? So necessity removing obligation in this sense means like, look, there's no way. It was designed for you to never be able to pay it off. That's the scheme. Okay, so it's like, why would Allah hold you accountable for a debt that came from a rigged system? I wouldn't give it a second thought. That's just me talking, and you know I love you. So it's like life goes on. Let's go. Okay, move on. So much. I got a lot of humor that comes after that, but I'm gonna leave it alone. It's a little morbid humor, so I'm gonna leave it alone. But let me bring you back so you could respond.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate that. Can you hear me?
Yes, I do. I do.
Can you? Oh, okay.
Okay.
I'm just saying thank you so much because that was such a clarification and it makes so much sense. It's unfortunate that the system is rigged. I mean, all across the board.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just completely rigged, and now the face has come completely off of all of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we're experiencing it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you, and I don't want to hold up the rest of the family that's out there. Thank you so much, and I'm continuing to listen.
All right, thank you. So you
Alaikum assalam.
You gonna be watching that game today or what?
Of course.
You know, once I know what anybody's into, I'm gonna always be on them about it, right? so that's good. That's good. Right. All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, alhamdulillah. Yeah, and a reminder again of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Intelligent questioning is half of knowledge. Intelligent questioning is half knowledge. So it's like the more you know what your questions are, and go after the answers. That's the first part of question is quest. That's the first part of question is quest. So as soon as you have a question, you're on a quest. And literally that's what question actually means. You're seeking, right? You're looking for something, right? Alhamdulillah. It's always right in front of our face, mashallah. All right, let's go. So we're going to speak to the, let me see some words. My micro recorder. There's also my apologies for the quality of the broadcast recording this morning. My micro recorder decided to quit on me, so I couldn't upload it the way that I normally upload it. So I had to do an adapted recording, so you lose some generation of sound in it. And so inshallah, Amazon, which we're going to say a little bit about in a minute, they can have another one. Well, Sunday, I guess they deliver on Sundays too. I believe they do. And Amazon said no problem. We can have one to you tomorrow, 24 hours. And in some cases, they have some things they can deliver same day. That's the commercial. That's kind of like there's the plus and the minus of the economic system, right? Let me see if this recorder will work while I'm on the phone. No, recorder won't work while I'm on the phone. All right, so I'm flying without a net for as far as backup is concerned right now, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Let's go. All right, no, I think this is my brother one more time. Is this Imam Askia? Imam 650. Who's speaking? Going once. 650. Walaikum assalam. All right, this is Jamil.
Yes, sir.
Hey man, I'm really enjoying that Bluetooth speaker you got me, man. I hooked my jukebox into it, all my old school sounds, and I just play it all day, bro. Not all day, you know, a good part of the day. Go ahead. Thank you again.
Only thing I just wanted to ask you, like what I was asking was, I'm helping people that have me in that. How do I deal with that one?
One more time.
I'm helping, like when you're helping someone and you're trying to assist them, but those that you're assisting, they have you in debt.
Those you're assisting, they have you in debt. Okay, you're assisting someone who's in debt, and so you're helping them in their debt is putting you in debt?
Well, not helping them is putting me in debt.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's a lot to go. There's a lot to go with that. Um, I'll give you a short reply, but it's not the end of my reply. So since you're close to me, the next time we're in a face-to-face scenario, I can extend this part of our conversation. Okay. Uh, but the first thing, the Quran. Let me go first side. First side is helping other people with the strength that you have, but that they don't have, is one of the ways to get Allah's help. Okay. But you have to be helping someone who doesn't have what you have in order to ameliorate or improve or whatever, correct, or help them in their situation. You're doing sadaqah for them on the basis of what you yourself have as a power, but that they don't have. And I'm speaking specifically from the model of Moses. When Moses helped the women who couldn't water their animal because their father was old and there was no other man in the house. And so then Moses went and helped the ladies water their animals. And after that, he went, sat under the tree and asked God to say, "Oh God, I'm ready to receive any good that you're willing to send." He said he had no good in there. But what he did have in that situation, he had what the women didn't have. And so he used what he had that the women didn't have to help them. And then Allah gave his help to Moses, and Moses got a job and a wife and a house for 8 or 10 years, according to what you're reading. So definitely one of the ways of getting help yourself is to help somebody else. That's the rule of law. That's the design of God, mashallah, alhamdulillah. However, this is without the qualification of the details of your particular situation. The other side of that, or in addition to that, because you got to look at both sides of what the religion tells us. The religion is a balanced religion. And so the Quran tells us, and what are you to give in charity? Right? It says, and the answer is what is beyond your needs. Right? And so the Quran tells you that you can't be giving up what you need to help somebody, because that means you both in the same situation. They need what you don't have, and you're giving what you don't. I'm just saying in the model that I'm expressing, what you don't have, and Allah has advised against that. Allah has said, don't give what you don't have to give. It said, don't overextend yourself before you become yourself abject and blameworthy. Right? So it's like, you can only give what you have to give. And the charity of giving to someone is to give to someone who doesn't have what you have. And so you're assessing them with that. But if you are in the same condition of the person you're trying to help out of that condition, then it seems to me, without the benefit of details, it seems to me there's another conflict. It's like someone who jumps in to save someone who's drowning, but they themselves didn't have the skill set to save a drowning person. Then what you wind up with is 2 drowned people, right? So all I can say, there's a caution relative to that. Now, that being said, I'm going to check out with this last statement, and that is, Allah has power over everything. And Allah has power over all. Allah is the owner of everything. Allah has everything. Allah has everything. And so the idea is God knows what we need. Allah knows where the demand is for what we supply and where the supply is for what we demand. God knows that. And so what we have to do is there's prayers that we make, the istikhara prayer, the hajjah prayer, prayers that are made in the final third of the night. The promise that Allah has made, he said, I will reward you from avenues you have not imagined. We keep trying to figure out, how can we do this? How can we do that? We don't know, but we know what? God knows. And so, oh God, tell me, oh God, do this for me. And God says, through the prophet, peace be upon him, it says, he says he comes to the lower heavens in the final third of the night to ask, who is it that is seeking forgiveness? Who is it that is asking for something that I might give them to? So you divide that third of the night, you look at Maghrib, you look at Fajr, and then you divide those hours up by 3, and then in the final third of the night, get up out of the bed, go and make the salat, and then make the dua, asking Allah to give you what you need to solve your problem. That's what faith tells us to do. If it's that deep, if it's at that point where it's like, I don't know what to do, and this is what we miss sometimes also. It says, you never know that God is all you need until God is all you have. So sometimes when we think that we're saving somebody from something, we're actually blocking the avenue of the arrival of the rescue. Because as long as they think they have someone, they're going to draw on them. I don't know the details. They're going to draw on them perhaps until they're sucked dry. And then they're going to look for somebody else. I don't know the details. But that can happen, right? And so sometimes we need to get out of the way of a person if they have put themselves in that situation. That's a whole different thing. And if we don't have the wherewithal to literally do that, without putting ourselves at risk, then we have to leave it to God. We have to leave it to God, and that's not Allahu Alam. Everybody's different, but that's not abandonment. That's not neglect. That's not being uncharitable. It's being wise and intelligent. It's being Muslim and a believer according to the religion. The religion says, tie your camel and trust in Allah, right? So sometimes, and going back to Moses, right? Moses go based on seeing things this way or that way. And the wise man said, no, it ain't the way that you see. You seeing things in black and white. Everything is not black and white. Sometimes you have to do that thing that's counterintuitive, that kind of runs against your particular grain, but it's the right thing to do in the plan of Allah. And that's why we have to have a relationship with Allah where our own heart, and that's where, where the Prophet, peace be upon him, he said, truth is what makes the heart feel tranquil, and falsehood is what wavers in the heart, even though people have given fatwas. It said, if you want to know what the right thing is for you, you have to consult your heart. It's like, what does your heart tell you? And you got to really listen. You have to really listen. If your heart is really saying, look, I got to go to the mat on this one. I got whatever it's going to take, then this is what I got to do. I got to take the hit, whatever. If that's what your heart is telling, then you go with that. But if your heart is telling, if your heart is telling you, well, then you obey your heart in that as well. Problem becomes if we don't follow our own heart that is sincere to God. And that's Abraham too, isn't it? Abraham was asked to do so many things that ran against his personal inclination. But because his heart was tied to God, he said, man, I don't want to leave my wife and this new baby out here. But that's what God told me to do. I don't want to sacrifice this boy. But that's what God told me to do. Whatever. You see? So it's like, you just got to decide if you're really down with doing what God and trusting your heart. And if your heart is a heart that's worthy of trust, then you got to do what your heart tells you to do. Right, right, left, or center. That's what I have to say today. And Allah knows best. May Allah forgive us the shortcomings in our sayings. And may Allah guide you to the best.
Thank you so much, Bernie Mel.
All right. Assalamu alaikum. All right. Alhamdulillah. So let's get on to this debt, right? I want to let's see. I want to remind you all of something. What's my objective? When we started this series, and one of the big, and when I say this series, especially about wealth and property. The main thing, we're in an illusion. We're in an illusion. If what, in fact, whatever you're thinking about illusion, when I say illusion, set that aside for right now. I'm not saying that what you're looking at. Um, I'm not saying that what you're looking at or what you're seeing is no. What I'm saying is that what is the system that we're looking at and the system that we trust is not what it appears to be. Sometimes it appears to be, well, the system is all natural and the system is just doing what it does normally and naturally. And whatever falls to the left or falls to the right, it just naturally falls to the left and falls to the right. Nothing particularly peculiar about that. But that's the illusion that I'm talking about. If you think that that's the case, if you think that everything as it's operating, you can go with for the students of Imam Muhammad, rahimahullah, we usually use just the four birds, right? Business, government, culture or religion, and education. It's like you look at any of those systems and you just kind of think that, okay, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's natural. No. It's a system that's designed to accomplish something for the people who set it up and for the people who are on the top of its pyramid, the educational pyramid, the governance pyramid, the economic pyramid, the religious and cultural pyramid. Those who are on the top of that, they're governing what's going on down, and the systems themselves are not divinely ordered. You need to make a note of that. We don't live in divinely ordered systems. We're not operating under divinely ordered systems. These systems are ordered and designed by men with the interest of exploiting those who are not one of them, with the interest of exploiting those who are not one of them. It's critical. That's how it has been since man has come into that kind of empowerment where he's able to use knowledge over the heads of a mass of people. I don't care if that's 100,000 years ago or it's 50,000 years ago. That's it. It's, oh, it works like that? Oh, okay, well, let's do that, right? And so therefore, all the systems that get designed and devised are designed and devised with that, whatever, that entrapment quality, so that they can in perpetuity be the rulers over the system that they have structured and then pass that rule down to their subsequent generations. That's that Ruby Wasp thing. And I'm going to play that caterpillar piece again. You need to see it again. I want to set that context. That's that Ruby Wasp program, that Ruby Wasp or Jewel Wasp program. They inject the cockroach, which is their favorite. They inject the cockroach with a neurotoxin that paralyzes the front legs. And then after a while, waiting for the neurotoxin to take effect, then it goes and injects the cockroach, which is much bigger than the jewel wasp, injects it directly into the brain of the cockroach. And in the meantime, while the process is still going on, the ruby wasp clips off the antenna of the cockroach. So the cockroach is now paralyzed and disoriented, right? And then the neurotoxin causes the behavior of the cockroach to act in a way where it grooms itself. It's called grooming. It cleans itself off, right? So it's like it gets itself suited up to become breakfast, right? I think about this Twilight Zone, the old black and white Twilight, Rod Serling Twilight Zone, the real Twilight Zone. These aliens come and they start curing all the diseases. It's like, and there's a book that says to serve man, right? And so there's one guy said, they're trying to kill us, they're trying to get me. But everybody else is seeing that, they're curing cancer, they're curing this, they're curing that. People are becoming more and more healthy, etc. So, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. And then when that punchline, that Twilight Zone punchline says to serve man, then you open up that book, To Serve Man, and it's a cookbook. It's a recipe for eating people. And in order to eat those people, they have to make them healthy first and then eat them. So they're serving man like dinner is served, right? Okay, well, that's very much like the nature of the system that we're in right now. This system is designed to serve us up to be consumed by those systems. We just talked about student loans, consumption, right? Consumption on every one of the business, obviously, consumption, politics, consumption, culture, consumption, eating up the people, right? And the people think they're alive. And I'm gonna go ahead and play this caterpillar piece right now because I want you to understand you might be the caterpillar. The society is the caterpillar. I mean, the common public is the caterpillar, right? And the way that the jewel wasp gets their intergenerational life extended is by exploiting the nature of its prey, i.e., in this case, the caterpillar, but the people that's on top of the pyramid that I'm speaking of right now in all four quarters of the world, then their caterpillars is everybody else who's not up there, and they have injected them with a way where they can take advantage of their organs of life, feed their own life, feed their own generations, in such a way that their victim doesn't die right away, that in fact their victim is not even aware that they have been victimized until it's too late, right? That's the game. This is what we're talking about, the red pill piece, right? You got to wake up to the matrix of it, because the neurotoxin, what's been put in our head, the perception that we've been given by the narrative that we have been served from nursery school to the present, is all designed to keep us alive and for us to consume so that we can be consumed by something else that is consuming us without our knowledge of the fact that we are actually being consumed. That's the world that we live in, brother and sister. That's the real world. And if you don't see that, and if you're not consciously and competently convinced that that's the reality, then you're still in the matrix. You're still in the matrix, right? And it's not a good one. Okay. So let me go ahead and play this piece on this so you can see this caterpillar again. Okay, there you go. Now, whatever. I think that people use it's not my language. Maybe I shouldn't even use it at all. Whatever kind of notice that's given, it's not. Let's just call it. It's not pretty. Let me do it like that. It's not pretty, but this is nature. This is real, and this is a sign from God, because God created both the wasp and the caterpillar. But it's a theater to tell us, don't be like this. Actually, there are levels at which, as a human being, don't be either one. And let's get to that later. It's just because it's like, okay, God did it. What's God telling us? I just told you. Don't be either one. Don't be someone that exploits someone, that victimizes someone for your own benefit. And also, don't be so unconscious of what's going on inside yourself that someone can exploit you in that way. So don't be, as a human being, don't be the jewel wasp, and don't be the caterpillar. But there are people who see the sign and they say, well, I ain't going to be the caterpillar, but I just might be the wasp. And that's what they're being right now. But let's go ahead and look at this right now, for reminder's sake, right?
Our parasitized caterpillar has spent the last 12 days gorging itself. It now appears profoundly obese. But this is not all fat. The glomerata wasp larvae lie just under its skin. Each is the size of a grain of rice, but together they account for over 1/3 of the caterpillar's weight. The larvae have not yet finished growing and need to keep their host alive. So although they feast on the caterpillar's blood, they have been careful not to touch a single one of its vital organs. This uneasy truce will not last. Within days, the larvae are fully matured. Suddenly, they begin to stir into action. For the past 2 weeks, this surrogate womb has protected them, but now they no longer need it. To complete the next stage of their life cycle, they must break out. The caterpillar's thick skin should be a solid barrier to the parasitic wasp larvae. But as their bodies have grown, they have developed tiny, saw-like teeth. These jagged jaws are for one job only: cutting their way out. Stroke by stroke, the larvae slice through the tough layers of skin. At the same time, they release chemicals that paralyze the caterpillar. As the larvae break through, there is nothing it can do. Free at last, the larvae enter a new phase of development. They swiftly spin silken cocoons. These will provide the perfect environment for their final transformation. But ironically, one of the greatest dangers the larvae will face is being themselves impregnated by other species of parasitic wasp. Incredibly, the wounded caterpillar helps them out. Usually, a caterpillar would spin a silken blanket to make its own cocoon. But the parasitized caterpillar spins his blanket on top of the wasp cocoons, giving them an extra layer of protection. Scientists believe the same wasp virus that infected it weeks before has now invaded the caterpillar's brain and caused this bizarre corruption of its normal behavior. Amazingly, the caterpillar's natural aggression is now also exploited by the wasp virus. The caterpillar becomes a bodyguard, actively protecting the cocoons from other parasites. It will watch over them unceasingly until it eventually starves to death.
So there is so much to say about that. just in the briefest way, thinking about the poor people and the people in the hood, Bilalians, I gotta say, most especially, we're the canary in the coal mine. We're the model. We're the example for everything that is. MashaAllah, I'm just telling you, we're at the bottom of every statistic. So everything that is harmful in society, we kind of like carry that as a model in the life behavior of the norm of us, right? On all scales. Okay, so when you talk about here, you did the consumption, and consumption provided the womb for the life of someone that wants to parasitize you, right? I'm not going to match up everything in it, but I think about the hood and I think about the liquor stores. Right? You got the liquor stores, and then you got many times Muslims and others who, Arab Muslims particularly, that run in the liquor store, right? So now you're being exploited on that level, then consumption and all of that. The other thing is you protect the system that exploits you, right? And so it's just terrible all the way around. I'm not gonna spend that. Y'all can work out. You can work out the logic of that. I'm looking at the time frame, and I don't want to fail to get in some of these other things that I want you to see. And that is here's another one, or rather, let me. Where's my doggone PowerPoint here? I'm trying to launch this app, and it's disappeared on me. Hey. Let's see. Open PowerPoint. Thank you for your patience. Let's see. All right. So. Let's see. Sorry, hold on. I gotta go get this piece. So I work on two computers, and sometimes I forget which folder I saved it in, and so it winds up being on one and not on the other. So now I know, and so let's go. Almost there. Hang on. So we were talking about indebtedness, and so I want to read this statement and play another short video for you. And all right, finally. All right. I mentioned during the khutbah, Jules Henry, Culture Against Man. It's, I don't know, a book from the 60s or something like that. This is a statement from it that I paraphrased during the khutbah. It says, in order for our economy to continue in its present form, People must learn to be fuzzy-minded and impulsive. Like the caterpillar just eats, right? For if they were clear-headed and deliberate, they would rarely put their hands in their pockets, or if they did, they would leave them there. If we were all logicians, the economy could not survive. And herein lies a terrifying paradox. For in order to exist economically as we are, we must try by might and main to remain stupid, right? So let's go back to the cockroach and the caterpillar. The idea is there is a toxin, a neurotoxin from the wasp that gets injected into the cockroach and into the caterpillar that chemically, neurologically does things to the cockroach and to the caterpillar that is against their own interest, but is in the interest of the wasp, who is exploiting their life for the life of their generations. Let me just slow that down and just say, this is the world that we live in. The world needs us to be dead and alive at the same time. Now, do you understand the popularity of the movie The Walking Dead? We don't need you to be really dead. We need you to be alive in body, but dead in the head. Okay? So that's what they do. That's what they do. And it's the stupidity and that same media. You watch the program, you quote unquote program, on the particular channel. You watch the program, but the program is the bait on the hook for the advertiser, right? It's like, oh, you like you like this program, you like this person, you like this personality, you like this celebrity, you like that. Okay, here they are. So everybody runs to see that and say, now buy this widget, right? So we attracted you on the basis of the appetite that you had for that particular celebrity. Then through that presence, we take advantage of your appetites, your desires. And we're going to give some details and some science on that. Neuromarketing is the thing that's used so that they can continue to create these caterpillars whose life is exploited from the inside and who will die protecting the life of those that exploited them. That's the world we live in right now. The consumers are the supply. This is not from the book. This is from some other research that I've done, whatever. The consumers are the supply of money and the businesses represent the demand. This is what we talked about in the khutbah. It's like we got it backwards. We said supply and demand, right? So it's like we think that people who got the stuff on the shelf, they're the supply and we represent the demand. No, it's the other way around. We are the supply. What's the supply? The money. It's like we're here, we quote unquote businessmen. We're in business to get the money. Who got the money? The people got the money. We need to get the people to come in here and give us the money, right? So the demand is the business and the supply is the consumer, right? And here's a very important thing you understand: it's a maxim that is true. One, from the political perspective, is that if you're not in the meeting, if you're not in the meeting, then you're on the menu or something like that. Yeah. If you're not in the meeting, then you're on the menu. So the idea is it's like they go in the back room, make their decision, and you're on the menu, right? We're going to cut you up. Balfour Declaration, etc. Berlin Conference. He said, we're just going to chop this up and we're going to eat that, right? Ruby Wasp, global. So, but the one I'm speaking to right now, in this society as it is right now, commercially speaking, is that if the thing is free, then you're the product. Get this free XYZ, ZYX. All right, there you go. That's the bait, right? So it's like, get this free. So if it's free, then you're the product, right? Oh, it's free. So then you go to get that. That's some movie that it's a sci-fi movie, but it actually points out the same thing. In any case, so that's the point. So what does this mean? Businesses have the demand, consumers have the supply. How do we get the supply for what we demand? This creates a forced spending clause for individuals and entities in debt, meaning that we need to force spending. They don't want you to have a free will about your consumption patterns and behavior. They want to deprive you of free will in expenditure. They want to drive you like that caterpillar to unconsciously and perpetually and to the end of your existence consume until you die. It doesn't matter, because your death represents the perpetuation of our future generations who are being taught the same game to exploit cockroaches and caterpillars everywhere. So this leads us to this. You might remember this movie, Fight Club. It was really all about this guy who basically has this breakdown because he's just like, there's just too much consumerism, just too much. He just got overwhelmed by this. And this is one of the key memes and statements from that movie. It says, we buy things we do not need with money we do not have to impress people we don't like. Fight Club. So Fight Club, the whole thing is about what I'm talking about. It's about consumerist exploitation and undermining life and its meaning, etc., in the interest of the let's just call it the material exploiters of the consuming public, right? So we just did the caterpillar piece, right? Let's look at how is this? Let's go. Okay, I want to share another. This America's dopamine habit, right? This talking about they literally exploit. Oh, here you go. All right, let's open this. We're just gonna play a couple of minutes.
If you've ever seen a shopping haul or unboxing video, you know that America loves to shop.
I did some shopping. You know, I haven't really uploaded a haul on this channel in a really long time, but to be honest, the shopping never stopped.
Shopping has never been easier. We no longer have to go to a store during limited hours, stock the aisles looking for a product, and then wait in checkout lines. Now with the click of a button, we have the freedom to shop for anything, anywhere, and at any time.
Every day is Christmas if you buy yourself stuff online.
Products are cheaper than ever, despite having to travel across the world to get to us, which means we often buy things without a second thought.
These are $3. Uno, dos, tres. I will buy one, cause why the hell not?
What's the last thing you bought online?
The last thing I bought online was a milk frother for my Nespresso coffee machine.
I think I bought 5 pairs of jeans, leggings, and sweatpants.
I choose regular shoes.
So you get a dopamine hit when you buy something. It's kind of this pleasure of, oh, I'm buying something, that's fun. But with online shopping, you get that dopamine hit when it arrives too and when you open it. So it's kind of this double benefit. And so it's actually more fun in some ways biologically than buying things in the store.
This biological compulsion to shop is partly due to the way humans are wired.
So there is an evolutionary aspect to this. The people that had the most stuff were most likely to survive. So you gather a lot of food for the winter, you gather a lot of wood for your shelter. And we still have that innate desire to kind of get enough stuff to make sure that we're gonna survive.
Today, despite being surrounded by abundance, Americans are still collecting ever more stuff. In 2017, we spent $240 billion on goods like jewelry, watches, luggage, books, and phones, twice as much as in 2002, even though our population only grew by 13% during that time. Our spending on personal care items like lotions and makeup also doubled over that time.
So we're spending 20% more on clothes than we were in 2000. The average American buys 66 garments a year, which is insane. And we're even spending more on electronics, which is really interesting because electronics are actually cheaper than they used to be. So the dollar amount that we're spending is going up, even though the cost of things is going down.
And now that we do a lot of our shopping online, returning things has become more of a hassle. One survey found that 9 out of 10 shoppers said they never or rarely return online purchases.
And part of this is because things are so cheap. You think, is it really worth $5 of my time to print out the label and go to the post office and send it back when I'm really not going to get that much money back? Why not just keep this and maybe I'll use it eventually?
Have you ever bought anything you didn't end up using?
Most things that I buy online, I feel like I don't wind up using.
A waffle maker, yes, for college, and I never used it. It's probably still in the box in my basement at home.
Yeah, I mean, like lipsticks.
Yeah, I buy clothes a lot, and a lot of times I'm too lazy to return them.
So where does all this stuff go? Well, a lot of it just becomes clutter in our ever-expanding homes. The average square footage of houses in the US rose by 23% in the last 2 decades, while the number of storage facilities doubled. It's become very easy to donate our unwanted goods to thrift stores, which makes us feel better about getting rid of our stuff. But it's estimated that most of the clothes we donate actually end up in landfills. The average American throws away an estimated 81 pounds of clothes and textiles each year.
So alhamdulillah, that goes into the environmental impacts of that. The best thing I can say, America's, what is the title of it? Let's see, hold on. You look for, if you want to look for it, America's dopamine-fueled shopping addiction. All right, we just covered the first 2 minutes, but it goes on to talk about how plastics and throwaways and all those things are impacting the environment. I'm speaking to or focusing on the consumerist side of it. Now, to get to the ruby wasp, the jewel wasp injection into our brain, literally, they take the knowledge that they gain by studying us, the human being. They take the knowledge that they gain by studying us and then put it to work in the marketplace in order to fuel the forced spending need for the demand of the corporate interests. Okay. Now, again, we need to be in business. We need to have our own economy. We need to make profit. We need all of that. You have to do it righteously, as Imam Muhammad rahimahullah alayhi, he said, the economic principles of this world need to repent in his book, Islam's Climate for Business Success. The principles that are upon which this economy operates are unrighteous. They're unrighteous. And the role of the Muslim is to create a value-filled world, which means we have to bring all of these systems in line with what Allah has ordered in a righteous, not any kind of crazy, irrational, kind of whatever, fanatical manner. It's just know what God expects and what God's will is for all of these areas and go to work to make it that. And you have to work with it in such a way, such as it is that you acquire the kind of leverage and power and influence that enables Allah's will to prevail in it. So you just have to be committed, competent, wise, patient, etc. to do that. It will take your life to do that. Get to work. So let's look at this. Here's another that we want to share. Now, this is about 10 minutes, 10, 11 minutes long, but this dealing with neuro marketing. Neuro, that is how they get into our heads and compel us to buy without this is beyond subliminal seduction, right? how they compel us without our willful engagement. About 11 minutes long.
About 100 years ago, companies in the Western world ran into a problem. Consumers had everything they needed, and so the companies came up with a great idea.
You just can't beat a Lucky Strike. Terrific new busy day dessert.
Persuade people that they need more things, even things they didn't really know they needed. And nowadays, companies are studying your brain to get you to keep buying more stuff. This is called neuromarketing, and
Neuromarketing is like marketing on steroids.
Companies know us better than we know ourselves.
The brand exists nowhere else but in the mind of the consumers.
We're going to tell you how companies are getting into your head.
in the 1950s, a clever marketer shocked the world with an astonishing experiment. He flashed the messages, "Drink Coca-Cola and eat popcorn" on a cinema screen too briefly for the audience to even notice. He claimed this had people rushing to the counters in droves to buy Coke and popcorn.
If this story sounds too good to be true, then that's because it is. Thankfully, we're not that easy to brainwash.
Turned out it was all BS. He made that up. There's no such thing as a brain's buy button.
This is Prince Guman, a marketing professional. He and neuroscientist Matt Johnson wrote a book on how companies tailor their marketing to our brains. So the good thing is, we are not mindless shopping zombies. But we do make a lot of our decisions subconsciously. And that's where neuromarketing comes in. Companies are trying to better understand how our brain works to figure out what we really want.
Traditional marketing studies work like this. Someone will ask me, do you want an apple or do you want a chocolate bar? And I'd say, I of course want the apple. But do I really want the apple?
So we feel as if we're in control. We feel as if we're the author of our decisions and we're thinking through these things very rationally. But study after study after study shows that we are extremely irrational and that we're, generally speaking, pretty unaware of the full range of factors which ultimately inform and sometimes actually decide the different behaviors and paths that we take.
In short, we don't always know what we want. We don't know if we actually want the apple or if we prefer the chocolate bar. But our brain doesn't lie.
And that's why neuromarketers have adopted a range of technologies in their marketing studies to see what's happening under the hood inside consumers' brains. Functional magnetic resonance imaging and electroencephalograms measure activity in the brain. Eye tracking shows where we direct our attention, and heart rate and skin conductance show what we find exciting.
For better or worse, people are complex and the brain is really complex.
Uma Karmaka is a scholar whose research revolves around how we make decisions.
What neuroscience does is it gives us access to some of these emotional elements or these elements that might not be fully conscious and tells us a little bit more about some of the things that might also be contributing to people's experiences and choices.
Take Cheetos, for example. When its parent company Frito-Lay asked consumers how they felt about the brand, many said, well, it's a bit of a kid's snack. But when they looked at their brains, it turned out people got a real kick out of getting their fingers messy with this orange dust that they're covered in. It is fun.
There was something subversive about that orange dust on your fingers. There was something a little unusual about it. And people kind of enjoyed it, even though it was not that respectable.
You know, other people are trying to do their laundry too.
Frito-Lay took these findings and built an entire ad campaign around this feeling of subversive pleasure.
Those are her whites in the dryer.
It became a huge success.
More and more businesses are investing in this type of research, most of which is happening in secret.
Through neuroscience, but also with the help of psychology and behavioral economics, they get a pretty good idea of what makes us tick. And they use this knowledge to get us to buy more of their stuff.
And I'm going to give you 4 examples of this that you've probably seen in your everyday life.
1, they wear you down. Our brain operates in two different thinking modes. There's what's called System 1, which is fast, unconscious and automatic, and then there's System 2, which is deliberate and conscious, but takes a lot of effort.
If I ask you, what is your name? System 1 will immediately have an answer to that question. But if I ask you, what is 23 times 48, you're going to have to switch to System 2. This requires effort. Now imagine you're going grocery shopping.
You have to find your way around the different aisles and make loads of decisions in a short amount of time. When you finally get to the checkout counter, you're tired.
One way in which you can get somebody to be more System 1 oriented is actually through wearing them down. So System 2, very resource intensive, requires a lot of metabolic resources. When we're tired, when we're malnourished, we're much more likely to go with a much more impulsive System 1 response.
And that's why, right at the end of your shopping trip, retailers tempt you with loads and loads of sugary snacks that you might just pick up at the very last moment. And shopping malls exploit the same situation. They're confusing, they're overwhelming, they're quite frankly exhausting, so you're more prone to spend money on something you might not even need. 2, they tell you what the right price is.
Let's say you walk into a store and you see a bottle of wine for, I don't know, let's say $15. Your brain doesn't really know if this is a lot or if this is not a lot, so it's immediately starting to look for some context.
Typically, people don't really have a sense of price. Like, they don't really know how much wine should cost or what's the right price of a wine.
This is Moran Cerf, a computer hacker turned neuroscientist and business professor.
The people create their kind of impressions of the price range, not by knowledge, by information, but rather by kind of sampling reality.
And the store will happily give your brain a reality to latch onto by placing a second bottle next to it costing $50. Now your brain thinks $15, that's actually a pretty good deal, so it's very likely you're going to buy this bottle.
Our brains are like ships. We're looking for places to anchor, right? And adding any sort of context or understanding of value, having an anchor helps.
3, they keep you on the treadmill.
Another quirk of our brain that brands are using is that it's constantly seeking pleasure. And the key word here is seeking.
Once you're experiencing a sort of thing that you wanted, you don't just get to bask in that pure pleasure for a long time. It's not the type of emotion which is enduring over time. And that's a very, very good thing for brands.
Because pleasure is so fleeting, brands keep sending us to what's called the hedonic treadmill.
The iPhone 6, the iPhone 6S, this is iPhone 7, iPhone 11, iPhone 12.
Right, let's say you buy iPhone 8. It's a brand new physical design, and you're loving it. And just like clockwork, 12 months later, 8S comes out. Whatever pleasure you got from achieving and purchasing the iPhone is now immediately gone. And now you're looking to, again, jump on the hedonic treadmill and chase the next pleasure.
4, they hide little nudges in plain sight.
So, you remember that cinema story from the beginning? Subliminal marketing messages like this, so things that we can't pick up on consciously, are actually illegal in most countries. But a few companies must have thought, well, why don't we just hide them in plain sight?
Check out this ad from KFC. See anything unusual? Well, look again. There's an actual dollar bill photoshopped into the burger, which happens to cost $1. And check out this can. Coca-Cola made it look like it's smiling to tie in with its brand image of happiness. And in literally every ad for watches, the time is set to 10 past 10, because that makes it look like the watch is smiling at you. These types of subtle hints are called primers.
So I would say right now, controversial, but the priming works. That said, we still teach that in school, in business school, as kind of a mechanism people should be aware of, because it's easy to implement. So if for the small chance that it does work, why not try it if you're trying to kind of sell something?
So if you see a 10-10 watch, you're not compelled by some physical force to go out and do everything you can to buy it. But if you're already feeling like buying a watch, or maybe you're already favorable towards the brand, that additional data point is going to push you maybe a little bit further.
And this is not limited to visual triggers. An experiment showed that if a wine store plays French music, customers buy more French wine. And if it plays German music, they buy more German wine.
A lot of this stuff is hiding in archives for companies, and it is in their best interest not to reveal it. But we would be silly to think that this isn't part of the experiential design that companies are creating to better engage with the consumers.
So, where does all this leave us? Are we ultimately just puppets without a will of our own, buying whatever corporations throw our way? Or do we have a choice?
Total mindless behavior is rare. Total control is also rare. And in between, there's a wide gray area, and we can move the needle between whether to make choices that are very informed and very kind of thorough, or very impulsive and not too thorough.
If you like something, that's going to be the most important determinant of whether or not you choose to spend money on it, or your time on it, or your resources in general on it. And that speaks a lot to the power that we have as consumers and individuals.
Now, neuromarketing is a very powerful tool. It gives companies access to something that even we don't have access to most of the time, our subconscious. But just knowing that and knowing how our brain works can already help us make better decisions. Have you ever come across any of the things we've shown you in the video? Let us know. What was that? Did you see that? Anyway, let us know in the comments and hit subscribe for more videos like this every Friday.
Alhamdulillah. So that's going to be it for today. But I want to mention a couple of things. I do want you to understand, while the economic perspective, the consumer perspective of this is, quote unquote, once you get exposed to it, it's pretty easy to get your head around. But I want to say again that this matrix that we're talking about and we're pointing out, and whose illusion we're trying to break, it applies. The politics is doing the same. Governance is doing the same thing. Culture is doing the same thing at their level and by their means, right? Education, academics, philosophy, if you will, it's doing the same thing with the means and the levers related to what its interests and how can you say, contacts, if you will, like touches, what it touches on, right? There are scientists on all levels. There are political scientists, there are cultural scientists, there are academic scientists, there are literally material scientists, the economic scientists, and the like. All of them are looking for the way by which they can, for those who are in the interest of exploiting the masses as opposed to cultivating the masses, they're all looking for the sciences in their field. And to some extent, there is a science that dominates that field right now. And those people who use it over the heads of the people are using it like what you call black magic. Right, I have the science of your nature that you don't have of your nature, and I'm exploiting your nature based on the science of your nature that I have from you in order for me to get the benefit, whether it be, again, in academics or in governance or in culture or in whatever I'm missing. I'm trying to move on. Economics, I believe. All right, so I have to say this to you. Naomi Klein, I mention her name, you look it up. Most everything you can find on video nowadays. Naomi Klein, Naomi, Klein, Klein, the shock doctrine. You gotta look at the shock doctrine, because my object is for us to better understand. Blog Talk, if you stay on, then you're okay. If you go out, then you won't be able to get back in. But in any case, we are broadcasting live on Facebook and also on YouTube. We won't be much longer, but I just want to make these points so that we can extend our concern and our consciousness into these others and very, very critical areas. Okay, so Naomi Klein, I'm mentioning her because she first came on board when you say to the public conscious, public awareness, mainly dealing with consumerism, right? It's fine, and so she is very, very deep and rich in terms of her information and warnings in that regard. But it also extends to mass domination, the idea of mass domination. So one side is there's consumerist mass domination, but then there's also political mass domination. It's just a big deal. And the shock doctrine, that is how worlds of people, global geographic swaths of people are dominated, not just what's going on in the mall, right? But let me mention this too. Go and look up Darren Brown, just spell it any kind of way that comes to you. Darren Brown mall experiment. Look that up. All right. And what's happening in that mall, you can also see happening on a global scale. But now back to Naomi Klein, the shock doctrine. You want to look that up. And I want to tie it to what we aired in the last clip that we played when he talked about one of the methods that they use in consumerism in order to press you into buying things that you had no original intention in buying is to wear you down. So the shock doctrine feeds into that, but the wear you down is also tied to what's going on in the mass media, right? Whatever, print media, most definitely social media, then the news, talking heads and the like, which most often feed from the same source and who are operating from the same playbook and who are sending out and supporting the same agenda. Those people, they want to wear you down because they want you to consume something, just like that at the grocery store. They want you to do that impulse buying because you've been worn down by the shopping and now you want to impulse buy some peanuts or some candy or whatever. All right. In the world that we're living in right now, in this time, there is, in my opinion, there's an underlying civil war. It's probably been going on a very, very long time, at least since 2016. An underlying civil war. And the point is that by the time you finish listening to the headlines or looking at the news, et cetera, that wears you down. You just get tired of it. You just get sick of it. You just get depressed by it. You just get anxious because of it. It wears down your normal mental functions and defenses and the like. So then when somebody who's been in this think tank working out this story, this doctrine, this philosophy, this fantasy, this narrative to sell to you, it doesn't matter how false it is, as long as it can speak to that thought level number one versus thought level number two. The thought level number one is very impulsive and it doesn't reason or quote unquote follow the logic in a matter. It just responds to how it feels, right? So these people craft a story and a narrative that feeds into a demographic that would feel good about this particular narrative, and then thereby they buy into it, they consume it, it gets into their brain, ruby wasp, right? A neurotoxin in their brain, and that brain feeds into their very loose grasp with reality, but a narrative that says these people are trying to replace me, so I need to go out and start killing them because if I don't kill them, then they're going to take us over. Right, that's your Walking Dead right there. The one that go on with the AR-15s, etc., shooting up churches and shooting up dollar stores and shooting up individuals on the street. These are people who have been worn down. They've lost their grasp on reality, but they have a predisposition. That's what was talked about. They have a predisposition for this kind of violence and this kind of hatred anyway, and then here comes somebody with a doctrine and a dogma in a place of respect saying that I feel the way that you feel, do what you think is right, do what you know is right in this situation, and we will hail you as one of our heroes. That is cockroach behavior, caterpillar behavior, ruby wasp behavior in the devilish interest of the people who want to politically and I don't know, pharaonically dominate this world. That's what we're talking about. And so it's like Fox News and whoever, hey, look, you got to be who you want to be with. It's like, I'm talking, okay? So those kinds of those kind of systems, it's like we are the neurotoxin. We are the neurotoxin. We are putting into the heads of the people that we want to put into their heads to get them to behave the way that we want them to behave in order to suit our political agenda. And that's what's going on. And so we have to genuinely, for us, when I say us, I'm talking about Muslim. It's like, so Muslim not a guaranteed Republican, Muslim not a guaranteed independent, Muslim not a guaranteed Democrat, not a Muslim. The interest of the Muslim is what Allah's interest is for humanity. And again, fastabiqul khairat, strive after what is best. So you have to do your own analysis. You have to be awake. You have to be conscious. You have to be thinking. You have to do your own analysis as to which one is most toward the value system that you are living to promote. Which one is closest to that? Which action is closest to that? Which choice is closest to that? Fastabiqul khairat. Okay, well, it's better than that. It doesn't have everything, but it's better than that in this regard. Make your choice. Put your check where that check should be. It doesn't matter whether it's Republican, in my opinion. Republican, Democrat, Independent, Black, White, whatever. Which one is supporting God's agenda more? Right? And mashallah, and leave the rest of it to Allah as we should. So, dear beloved brothers and sisters, that's going to be it for today. May Allah guide us, forgive us our shortcomings, and show us the ways of knowledge, insight, obedience, taqwa, insha'Allah. God's peace be on you. Everybody have a wonderful day. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.